Boop.
Yo, what's up?
Hey Paul, it's Cameron, from MTGSpotlight. So, when are we going to be doing this dinosaur deck tech?
Welcome to the Planeswalker Project.
So, dinosaurs, you know them, the things from Ixalan, the totally not brand new creature type that made everyone poop their pants. And with Gishath as a totally viable commander for a tribal dinosaur strategy, you know the drill. Now before I go all John Hammond on you poor viewers, I want to reiterate something I mentioned before in my Spider Tribal deck, which you can watch right here. Boom! When you build into a tribal deck, while yes, you can theoretically use any and every creature that is a dinosaur, or eroded to be a dinosaur with that not so grand second creature type update, you need to look at what exactly you're throwing in and make sure there are synergies and tactics and value that can exist outside of the realm of, oh my god, it's a dinosaur, RAWR. And so with that in mind, the dinosaurs you've included in this build will largely be focused on the value that they bring to the table. We will be including some value creatures, of course, that will help us ramp into some of these dinos. As you're going to note, the curve requirements for many of these creatures is pretty high for what we might be able to play early game. So let's dig in. I want to begin this video off by taking a look at what exactly Gishath does. This dinosaur avatar costs 8 mana, so 5 of any color and then 1 each of green, white, red. We also get a hasty, trampoline, and vigilante 7/6 that whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get to reveal that many cards off the top of your library. Any number of dinosaur creatures can be put into the battlefield and the rest go to the bottom of the library. So I look at this in a very similar way that I do Mael, another fellow Naya commander. You want to run a decent number of dinosaurs in order to utilize that ability to get more dinosaurs out for free. But in order to do so, we will want to have some control over the top of our library. We're going to get into how we plan to do that later on in this video, but the other thing we want to work on is getting damage through, utilizing huge amounts of offensive force. So starting off, rather than go prattling on into the ramp right off the bat, I want to talk about the part that you all are probably far more interested in, the dinosaurs. Because what's a dinosaur tribal deck without the dinosaurs? Starting off, our herd is the big baddie itself, the Carnage Tyrant. Now, I initially didn't really like the Tyrant that much at first. It reminded me very much of a new and scalier version of Terra Stomper, another card that I'm not super big on. But upon further experimenting with this card, I found it to be a huge powerhouse. 6 mana for a 7/6 isn't super unique in the commander format, but it being immune to counterspells means when you drop this while hardcasting, it's hitting the table one way or another. Next up is Trample. Dinosaurs offer a rather typical aspect of what the Naya color combination is known for in big, heavy-hitting creatures. So a 7/6 with Tramples means this is going to be a threat to someone considering chump blocking, as they're going to have a lot of damage going through regardless. Now what really sells this card is the Hexproof. Once a creature of this size hits play, generally the first thing to mind is usually kill it, it dies to removal, it dies to Doomblade, and so on. Well, this dinosaur does not. It hits the field and nothing short of a Wrath effect or an Edict effect will make it go anywhere. So this would be a great card to drop with our commander, or just playing it hardcasting. We also have the Death Scourger Scavenger, a rather interesting dinosaur that is very reminiscent of Scavenging Ooze. Whenever it hits the battlefield or attacks, you can exile a card from anyone's graveyard. You can gain 2 life if it's a creature, and if it isn't, it gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. So this is really good graveyard hate, and it's perfect against strategies like Kess or Carador that are going to focus on graveyard recursion. Goring Ceratops is actually a lot better in my opinion if you can drop it using Gishath, as I feel 7 mana for just a 3/3 is kinda lackluster, even considering the double strike. But whenever it attacks, the real value will shine through, as every one of your other creatures, dinosaur or not, gain double strike until the end of turn. This means that Gishath, our commander, can potentially do 2 searches through the top of your library, which doubles the value of his ability. Kinjali's Sunwing is perhaps one of my personal favorites among this dino crew, offering some control as it forces opponents' creatures to enter the battlefield tapped. This means that opponents will be helpless to block any incoming stampede. And it also has flying, so nice evaded evasion. Rampaging Ferocidon is next, and is perhaps one of the scariest abilities in this deck. It shuts off all potential life gain that any player might want to employ. It also pings every player whenever they have a creature enter their battlefield. That's going to start adding up should a player try to keep getting more boots on the ground, as they're going to find their life total will quickly dwindle away to dangerously low levels. I'm looking at you, Edgar. Now this next dinosaur, I want you to bear with me because it might seem innocuous, but the Raptor Hatchling gets to spawn a 3/3 dinosaur every time it gets damaged. While it normally can only take one ping before going out, we do have a number of Lord creatures in this deck that will also help it take a few additional hits. This is a great early turn play, as opponents will likely assess that they don't want you gaining a 3/3 super early upon this little hatchling getting hurt. Onto a larger threat, the Regisaur Alpha. Again, this dinosaur spawns a 3/3 dinosaur upon hitting the field, so you get 7 power and toughness for only 5 mana. It's not bad. You also give all your other dinosaurs haste, which is completely unnecessary with your commander, but it's also very useful in speeding the rest of your dinosaurs into action. Another enrage mechanic dinosaur, the Ripjaw Raptor, I love for the sheer amounts of card draw it offers. 4 mana for a 4/5 is pretty good value, and given that it's going to draw you a card on either it being blocked or blocking, is great value. Moving right along, the Thunderwinged Spineback, one of our first Lord creatures. We give our other dinosaurs +1/+1, and for 6 mana, we get to spawn a 3/3 trampling dinosaur. This is great for late game when we have a lot of excess mana that we'll want to use to sink into some extra sets of teeth. Now, we've gone on and on about all these raptors and rexes and the general RAWR and stomp of aggressive creatures, but we're going to want some dinosaurs that offer value outside of the realm of scary teeth. And with that in mind, let's meet Verdant Sun's Avatar, who offers us life gain. Whether it or another creature hits your side of the field, you will gain life equal to its toughness. Most of our dinosaurs have a pretty sizable butt, so we can gain a decent chunk of life off of them. This also works very nicely with our commander, as the numerous drops that Gishath can result in will offer us a huge boost in life gain. Just keep in mind that should that Rampaging Ferocidon be in play, this card is useless. And our last dinosaur, and one of the biggest ones in this deck, is the Wakening Sun's Avatar. You will want to hardcast it because whenever it's cast, it kills everything that's not a dinosaur. So unless you're facing off against a fellow dinosaur deck, you're likely to be the only one with creatures left after this thing thunders down. Alright, so now that we've finished our tour of Jurassic Park, we do run a number of other creatures in this deck to help supplement our tribe with some extra value. First and foremost is our aforementioned Lord creatures. These are going to give our creatures an added boost to help them get more damage through. The classic Adaptive Automaton and the Metallic Mimic both come in as technically dinosaurs, and they also give a boost to the other dinosaurs. And while not a lord in the traditional sense, the Mirror Entity can help sink a ton of mana into basing the power and toughness of our creatures to extraordinarily high amounts. And it also counts as a dinosaur, it just looks like an alien. We run a few creatures from Ixalan that will help serve as boons to our dinosaur herd. Kinjali's Collar and Odebek Huntmaster both lessen the costs of our dinosaurs by 1 mana each. And the Huntmaster can also give a dinosaur haste. Priest of the Awakening Sun also offers us life gain and a tutor ability, one that can be very useful in picking out the key dinosaur we need. Iroas is a potent threat with just a few dinos in play, as it makes our whole herd harder to block. And it keeps them safe from damage whenever they're attacking. This can spell trouble for opponents who only barely can block the damage we're swinging in with as is. The Ulvenwood Tracker serves as a potential creature removal, as just for 2 mana, you can have one of your creatures fight another creature, which can help clear out a threat without even having to go into combat. Xenagos is another great threat, giving a huge power buff to a creature that, if you put it on our commander, is going to spell big problems for opponent. Just on its own with Gishath, you stand the potential to flip over 14 cards searching for dinos to drop. That's more than a fifth of your deck, not to mention the amount of damage you'll be dishing out as commander damage. If you add in some double strike or unblockability, you might not even care about if you hit a dinosaur or not. I really like that Gishath very much stands to win games on its own just through combat damage. Now, we've been on and on about all these big hefty creatures, but we will need ways to get the mana up to cast them. We run a decent amount of mana ramp that will give us our lands, and in doing so, it's going to decrease our count in our library, so whenever Gishath's ability triggers, we're more likely to hit those dinos. Cards like Urza's Incubator and Herald's Horn are good inclusions to speed up those dinos hitting the battlefield, but we're going to want to fix our mana early game to cast and those extra lands put into play. Your standard Cultivate will be great to get us those basic lands, but we also want to use abilities such as Farseek to tutor for non-basic lands. Nature's Lore, a land tutor that I'm finding more often now that I've tested it, is better than my previous choice of Rampant Growth. It can also give you a non-basic forest if need be. Skyshroud Claim lets you go for 2 forest cards. Again, these don't have to be basic lands. Of course, one of the cards I feel any green deck will want to run in Commander is Exploration, which gives you 2 land drops per turn. This is an excellent ramp ability to have in play, and of course, Mirari's Wake offers an Anthem, and it doubles the mana production off your lands. One of the most innocuous methods to help improve Gishath's consistency is to use some creature tutors. Outside of classics like Green Sun Zenith, we do have a few unique picks just to this build, in the form of Congregation at Dawn, which lets you take 3 creatures of any choosing and put them in any order on the top of your library at instant speed. If Gishath hits, you are at least going to guarantee 3 dinosaurs. We also have Worldly Tutor, which does a similar ability, but you only get to pick 1 dinosaur, or you can choose non-dinosaur creatures, I guess. A few win conditions that are really fun in this deck will help finish off an opponent with just our Stampede alone. The aptly named Dinosaur Stampede is an overrun-esque ability that will help us plow over anything an opponent has on the defense. We also have Savage Beating, which can either give your creatures double strike or an extra combat phase, or if you could spare 2 additional mana, both. So 2 combat steps featuring a board of double striking goodness. This can mean any new dinos as well that have been dropped from the first combat step will get their chance to bite. That's pretty powerful. Overwhelming Stampede is another great option for a massive boost in attacking force if one of the big dinos is in play. And just because I love this card, Titanic Ultimatum is pretty much the gravy train should you be shooting for an alpha strike. Now that the bulk of our spells are out of the way, it's time to look at our mana base. And again, one of the biggest things that I personally focus on when constructing my mana bases in Commander is the tempo that it either offers me or denies me. I generally stray away from having too many lands that enter the battlefield tapped, but maybe that's not your playstyle. Maybe there are abilities on some lands that you would rather sacrifice the tempo to have, and as with all of our deck profiles, you're more than welcome to substitute some of inclusions that we chose with your personal preferences. Cavern of Souls is a key contender here, giving our commander some much needed protection from counter magic and letting us drop dinos without fear, unless you're that Carnage Tyrant, show off. City of Brass and Mana Confluence gives you any color you need, 2 cards that I like to run in decks that feature more than 2 colors. The Dryad Arbor is nice for getting an early game creature and a land drop all in one. It's great to cheat into play first turn with a Green Sun Zenith for 0 extra mana, and then you basically get 2 lands that turn 1 technically. Yes, it's susceptible to creature removal, but whatever. It's the magic card equivalent of the Whomping Willow, take it for what it's worth. Grove of the Burn Willows offers us 2 of our bigger colors, green and red, and that life gain that your opponents might get is negligible once our dinos get hungry. Opal Palace is something most people might relegate to a deck like Gave or Skullbriar, but with Gishath, it gives us extra bite the more times that we have to use it to cast Gishath. Our standard shock lands and fetch lands are must-haves, as the shocks can be fetched out with most of our ramp spells, and I personally only run the on-color fetches to free up room in the mana base for some other lands. Check lands are a nice addition, as they generally will hit the battlefield untapped so long as you have one of the required land types in play. Jungle Shrine is the only land in my build that is required to come in tapped, although you can personally substitute it for Rith's Grove if you're hurting for the mana fixing more so. I know a lot of folks aren't super big on the lair lands, but I personally like them in a few builds. Kessig Wolfrun offers a boost ability for a creature, and it's great to use to get most damage out of our tramplers. And last but not least, the Rogue's Passage is perfect for ensuring that Gishath's damage is getting through in its entirety. Although, how a dinosaur can subtly traverse the Rogue's Passage, I'll leave that up to your imagination. And with that, we have come to the end of our look at Gishath the Sun's avatar. At the moment, unfortunately, our pool of dinosaur creatures from Ixalan is relatively small, and we don't have too much in the way of alternative strategies other than beating face with giant dinos at this time. Perhaps the next set from Ixalan might offer us more bounty in the line of viable dinosaurs, and perhaps someday we will visit the plane of Muruganda, which has dinosaurs as well. Until then, I hope you enjoyed our build of Dinosaur Tribal, one of the most exciting new tribes from Ixalan. What did you think of this list? Are there cards that you would prefer running over others? Let's talk it out in the comments section below. Remember to like and share this video with your Commander playgroup. Do you have a friend wanting to build into dinosaurs? Help them out by showing them our guide. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for the latest Commander good stuff. If you're interested in helping our channel create even better quality content, consider becoming a sponsor over at our Patreon, as even $1 can help us improve. And as always, I will see you at the next upkeep.